Polska bateria wymieniła i wymieniła na...
Słuchajcie, ja nie zawinięty jest ten, ale chyba nie będzie padać mocno, nie? Oj.
Well, a very good morning and a warm welcome to Strzegom, or a good afternoon, I should say. A warm welcome to Strzegom, the FEI Eventing Nations Cup. Let's take a closer look at Martin Konowski's cross-country course. 3 really nice, straightforward, inviting fences to get riders underway. And there's a real racetrack feel to Strzegom. Big ditch and brush comes up at fence 4, and then heading on up the hill. It's a relatively flat track, but they make some use of the mounds and the man-made features that become available. And the first real question comes here at 5 and 6. Separately numbered, these houses, but on a related distance. The direct route is certainly taking them on the straight line before coming back to another big ditch and hedge. And an opportunity to open up on the accelerator here before one of the first major questions is going to come up in just a moment. Big box at 8, some dimension on that as well. And then this, one of the real feature fences, the 9ABC, the Lotto Rail corner and corner. You can see coming up the man-made mound, first of those corners. And then that slight curving right-handed line to a second of those big corners on a safety device. 11 penalties, remember, should a safety device be activated out on course. Away from there, the Otterfield rail parallel at 10. Big fence. Should be relatively straightforward before setting up for the first of the waters. The Lotto water comes up at 11 and 12. 11AB into the water, the brush corner coming out. And then actually, as we've said, a real racetrack of a course, because you turn right back on yourself very quickly to come back to the water from a different direction again. 12, the brush into the water, then this curving right-handed line to these two offset houses. This is 13A and B, so an A-B combination. Away from the Lotto water, and the white rails here come up pretty quickly. Relatively straightforward question, but actually then the chance to again open up on that accelerator before coming into the Monta water. 15 and 16. It is 15 the fence that goes into the water, and that slight curving right-handed line once in the water to the step. And you can see here the step up to that angled element at 16B. Just inviting a run out to the left-hand side. Riders put that behind them. Quickly onto the final third of the course now. Brush roll top at 17. Lovely big inviting galloping fence. Should be very straightforward for horses at this level of competition. Before a slightly awkward turn to what is a relatively straightforward fence. The picnic table at 18. And then back to this combination. The Lotto rail to skinny brush at 19A and B. And this skinny brush really is exactly what the name might suggest. Extremely skinny. Such an accuracy question. The horses might be getting a little bit longer in their stride at this stage of the course as well. And then you've got to come back right-handed. And it's the run back towards home now. Underneath the trees, that enormous trachena. Then through the woods. And this is where you can just take a little bit of extra time, because you've got to respect the change of terrain. The rail ditch brush combination at 21, A, B and C. Again, another real accuracy question at that final element. And again, slipping into the woods. It is a galloping stretch, but it's always a bit more difficult to travel quickly through the trees. These are one of my favourite fences on the course. On the 2 mounds, it is the Go for Gold horses, 22A and B. But the finish almost within sights now. The log in the woods at 23 should be a relatively straightforward question before the DCU white parallel and the DCU hurdles come up very quickly afterwards. 24 the parallel, so separately numbered to the 2 hurdles, which are an A-B element, but very much on a related distance, and one would expect that they'll be taken on a direct line. Then just the final fence, the brush at 26 to finish, and we'll see our riders go through the finish flags to complete. Can they stop the clock inside the optimum time of 6 minutes and 36 seconds? Watch this space. So just a moment until the first horse heads out of the start box, and here they are. This is our pathfinder, and it is Jan Kaminski with Unknown Flying Object. Jan, one of Poland's top international riders, actually comes forward riding as an individual. We'll see all of the individual combinations first of all, and then the team rotation of riders comes forward in the final 20 or so riders in the class. Australia lead the team division. In the individual division, it is Yulia Krajewski who is out in front. So here is Jan Kaminski, Unknown Flying Object, coming to that big tricana, the brush and ditch at 4. Turning back to get a good line to these 2 houses. 2 goes on the 3 strides. Just caught a knee slightly on the second. Unknown Flying Object looking pretty keen. Actually, Jan just taking a moment to make sure he sets up and respects that next ditch and brush. So you can just see how much going on there is for these horses to look at, because there's so many other elements to the competition in Strzegom this weekend. You've of course got the 4-star long competition, but you've got international competition all the way up the levels from the 1-star intro level. And that's one of the options that Marcin Konowski has given competitors there, just letting them choose their line as to whether they go left or right. And that's really a personal preference. There could be a few seconds in it here or there. There is so much for these horses to look at, so much going on, so many fences, that you've got to make sure that they're actually picking up and focusing on their question. So that is the parallel at 10, the Otterfeed rail parallel. And wherever in the world you are joining us from, delighted to have you with us here in Strzegom. Live cross-country coverage of the 4-star short competition, the FEI Nations Cup event, as here is the Lotto Water. First opportunity of 3 for horses to get their feet wet. An Unknown Flying Object did a really good job there. Actually got in quite close to the brush corner at the second element, but took it beautifully, just knocked the flag. Now here comes Peter Flarup and Fascination. Combination inside the top 10 after dressage in 8:32.2. There were our long-time leaders, in fact. As we go back to Jan at the Lotto Water, just pulling out to give himself a little bit more room. These angled brush boats. Really good job through there. And actually just had to get the horse to listen to him, to get his line to that white parallel that follows that water. Peter Flarup and Fascination combination, who will be en route to the Olympic Games in Paris. Peter, who's just been announced as his country's representative, Denmark's representative at the Olympic Games. Has a couple of horses qualified, but one would imagine that this is the horse that he would very much plan to be riding. Finds that 3 strides quite easy. Fascination covers the ground really well. And sees an absolute flyer to that ditch and brush. That would have given him some feeling. And it's interesting, this competition in Strzegom this weekend because, as we were saying on the dressage coverage yesterday, there's so many different storylines. Partly it's the Nations Cup, of course, that's our first priority, but there's horses bidding for Olympic qualification, there's horses bidding for Olympic selection. And there's horses using it as a final preparation run, perhaps, for those Olympic Games, as Jan Kaminski comes through the mound. Skinny brush at the second element there at the Lotto combination at 19. Pops through there very nicely. And the time here is normally pretty influential, it should be said as well, because you can see how much twisting and turning there has to be done. Six minutes and 36 seconds, that optimum time. 0.4 of a penalty for every second or part second there over. Lovely from Peter Flower, Fascination into the water, and so clever by Fascination. Knows his job so well, just a clever little short stride and pops in very nicely. So away from the start, Vera Meninen just caught sight of Vera. Vera comes forward with Sir Greg on a score of 34.0. That left them in 12th place overnight. Peter Flower looking really classy at the Lotto Water at 12. And Fascination doing a really good job here. Peter doesn't look to be pressing down on that accelerator. I think we might not see people going quite as quickly for the clock until later on in the division. As here's Vera Mannin and Sir Greg. Back to Peter Flower. At the Monta Water. Really nicely done that. Made that look very straightforward. And Peter really not chasing the clock at this stage. It's about giving the horse a good, steady, confidence-building run. So we go back to Vera Maninen and Sir Greg for Finland. Our first combination, Jan Kaminski, Unknown Flying Object, is home. 17.2 time penalties. 17.2 time is going to give him a total of 61.4. Oh, just lost her knitting there slightly, Vera Maninen. Did a very good job to get the contact back, and actually Sir Greg taking the right-handed route there. Did a lovely job. Fascination still thoroughly enjoying the task at hand. Peter Flarup heads on towards the latter third of his route. Vera Maninen is going to come to the first of the waters. The Lotto Water at 11, A and B. This combination that went brilliantly here 12 months ago. Big bold jump into the water. Really straight to the line. As away from the start goes our latest starter, Pauline Nor, Averley MAF. 38.9 their starting score. That left them in 26th place after dressage. Vera Mannin, Sir Greg make light work of those brushes in the water. As I say, this combination went really well here last year. They finished in 4th place, 6.4 time penalties 12 months ago. It's a tough old time to make the cross-country here at Strzegom, and that is largely because of the sort of racetrack nature of it, lots of twists and turns. It's going to be quite similar to what we believe we're going to see actually in Paris in a few weeks. Really easily done away from that water. Viramanen doesn't look to be chasing the clock, interestingly. Just letting the horse take a bit of a breath. Clear so far, as Peter Flarup is right at the end of his round. He is home safely with Fascination. We'll bring you a time on him as soon as it becomes available, because he was on that good starting score of 32.2. Pauline Knorr. Which route is she going to take here? The right-handed option. Brush and the curving left-handed line to the brush corner. I think that's definitely going to be the preferred option. 14 time penalties for Peter Flarup, and Fascination sees him finish the day on 46.2. That's the score he'll take forward to tomorrow's show jumping. And of course, the show jumping phase that we'll be bringing you all of the live coverage from tomorrow. The provisional start time of 2:30 p.m. local time. Do check that tomorrow for confirmation at the final show jumping phase, where we will decide who will be stood atop the individual podium and of course the team podium as well. Pauline Knorr coming to the Lotto Water. What a lovely forward stride she saw through there. She landed on quite a big distance, and actually, rather than take the horse out of his rhythm, she set the horse up well, pushed to make the distance, and the horse actually responded really well, jumped that beautifully. Obviously trusted the horse at the second of those elements, the corner. But this is going to be a pretty quick time, I think, by the looks of things, because not hanging around, Pauline. Yet to see anybody go even close to that time. Oh, just rather rattled the first part of that white parallel, actually. It did stay, as here goes Robert Pavala, Rara del Castagno, on a score of 35.0 in 14th position, coming forward to the cross-country phase. And Robert we'll see a little bit later on as well with the second of his rides. Comes forward in the Polish Nations Cup team. Doing a really good job there, just bringing the horse back to set up for a good line at these two houses. And the angle really is very acute. So coming to this rail combination, the horse jumping right to the bottom of the dip there, and he had to sit right up, Robert, to make sure he got his line to the first of those skinnies. But did it very well. 6 minutes 38 seconds, in fact, the optimum time. So if you're just tuning in, 6 minutes 38 seconds, the optimum time over Marcin Konowski's cross-country track. 12.8 time penalties. Round is 7 minutes and 10 for Viramanen and Sir Greg. And that will see them finish on a score of 46.8, just slots into second behind Peter Flarup and Fascination. So no jumping penalties as yet, all looking relatively straightforward on the jumping front, but certainly the time is going to play its part. Have to be travelling on average of 570 metres per minute in order to achieve that 6 minutes and 38 optimum time, but of course plenty of times whereby you're not travelling at 570 metres per minute, like through the water, and there's 3 of them here, like on these twists and turns, and yet on the straight stretches you would perhaps go more quickly. So that's where it averages out. Robert also brings forward his second ride a little bit later on as part of the Polish team. Poland sitting in second behind the Australians. Lovely through over those angled boats. So Robert Pavala is well on his way back down the track as Joanna Pawlak and Fantastic Frida are our latest combination to get underway. 41.2 their starting score. Saw them in 31st position coming forward. And just waiting for an update on Pauline Knorr because he's home safely and just 4 seconds over the time. That is by far the fastest round of the day. 1.6 time penalties. That is going to see her set at the standard. And she was really going for it, but it does give hope that actually that optimum time is quite achievable. So she goes forward to tomorrow's jumping on 40.5. Riding as an individual for Germany. As Joanna Pawlak, Fantastic Frida. Clear of the ditch and brush, the second of those. The leader after dressage, Yulia Krajewski, great twist dive Z, will be out on course a little bit later on, one of the last to go in fact for the German team. Be the last rider to go for Germany. 3 from the finish at around just before 3 p.m. local time. And Pawlak. Oh, now this is going to be the first time we see this line jumped. Makes it look very straightforward. It's possibly a few seconds quicker. And you can see the person sat in the chair is filming to be able to make sure that should there be a question over a flag penalty, that you get a really direct head-on view of the fence. So Joanna Pawlak onto the Lotto water. And actually this horse has quite a unique way of going. Has quite a low head carriage, likes to travel with his nose, or her nose, quite close to the ground. But every horse likes to go in a different way. Really well done through there. As next away from the start, Alina Dubowski and Little Princess, 41 points, comes forward on that dressage score to go cross country. Little Princess would be not overly experienced at the level, just a couple of runs previously. As Joanna Pawlak really nicely through the next of those waters. Alina Dubowski travelling pretty quickly at the early part of her round. Has set out certainly like she means business. It's a warm enough day in Strzegom. And a slightly uncomfortable jump at that ditch and brush. But safely onto the other side. Alina just taking the time to set up for these houses. And actually almost goes on a slight curving line. The 3 strides on a really straight line feels a little bit short. The curving line just gives that little bit more space. Little Princess has certainly set out like she means good business in the cross country. Unfortunately didn't complete when they came here in the spring for the 4-star, but have since been top 15 at Munster in the 3-star. As Joanna Pawlak on her way home with Fantastic Frida. Alina Dubowski motoring on to the water. In just a second, that comes up after this big parallel. picking pretty quick still. 6 minutes 38 seconds, remember the optimum time. She just wants to get the horse back to her. Coming into this water. Very, very rapid through there. Not wasting any time at all. Very interesting to see her time, because certainly not hanging around. 4 seconds over the time was her fellow German rider Pauline Knorr. That's by far the quickest we have had so far, but unfortunately, frustration as she just jumped into the water, and it looked like she just jumped Alina out of the saddle, and unfortunately you could see the clear frustration for Alina as she sat in the water. The horse galloped away, and Alina hopefully none the worse where she'll be checked out by the brilliant team of medics on site, but just not their day, unfortunately, as away from the start. This is Curacao, Geordie Wilkin. Robert Pavala is home safely. 13.6 time penalties for Robert, with Rara Del Castagno. We'll see him a little bit later on. And goes to tomorrow's jumping on 48.6. As taking the left-handed option there at the final real question. Joanna Pavlak just has to set the horse up. Fantastic Frida looking very keen still, coming to the last, but is home safely. So 2 combinations out on course at the moment. If you're just tuning in, very warm welcome to Jordi Wilkin for the Netherlands. Clear through 5 and 6. Jordi, who has actually been to a good number of senior European championships. Went to the Worlds in 2022 with Bury Spirit. Unfortunately wasn't able to compete there, but went to both Avanche and Harada in the Europeans also. In the last couple of European championships. And Curacao, Irish bred by Ramiro B. And a horse that actually bidding, I believe, to confirm their Olympic eligibility here this weekend, because they have a 4-star long MER from last year in Montelibretti. Don't have a 4-star short MER in 2024, which is of course required. There's lots of different eligibility requirements for the Olympic Games in order to be selected, but in order to be qualified, putting it very loosely, you must have a minimum eligibility result at 4-star long or 5-star in the season up to the 24th of June, or the season that precedes it, so that counts the whole of 2023 as well. But you have to have a confirmation result at 4-star short level in 2024, and that's where we're seeing a few of these combinations here this weekend. Actually, that's what they're aiming for. And just choosing to take a slightly different route there, and interestingly did take the flag. We'll wait to see how that appears on the live scores, because it certainly looked from our direction that the horse did jump out to the right, but ultimately we don't get the direct view of that. That is all down to the fence judge. They have a camera directly in front of the fence such as that, and it is down to them to judge. So we'll watch this space on the live scores. A camera angle from another direction can certainly be quite different to what has actually happened. So away from the start, it is Nicholas Limbach, points down Porsche, 43.8 their starting score. Quickly away from the start. There is indeed a question mark on the flag for Jordi Wilkin and Curacao that has appeared on the live scores. So Nicholas Lindback goes on to the Lotto combination. And another to take this left-handed option. And unfortunately running into problems at the corner, the second of them. Gets it at the second time of asking, but that's really frustrating for him. So Nicholas puts that 20 penalties behind him. Joanna Pavlak, fantastic Frida. 10.4 time penalties. They were home on a clear round. So they go on 51.6 to tomorrow's jumping. So Nicholas, who we'll see a little bit later on in the Swedish team as part of their Nations Cup team, unfortunately not having the best of rides with his first horse, just pops his hand up and decides to save the horse for another occasion, showing all of his experience there. Just a slightly inexperienced mistake perhaps coming out of the water. And a very similar question to the corner, and they'll go home, do some homework, and I'm sure be back on another occasion, but just popping the horse back through the water to get his feet wet before they head for home. Now we go to Yingfeng Bao and Flandia 2 for China. Combination at the end of their round is Jordi Wilken and Curacao. Just the final fence to go. And that 15 penalties that is still a question mark on his results is really important, because that would stand in the way of a qualifying result for the Olympic Games. An MER is 11 penalties or less, so that is only really a pin or a frangible device. So we'll watch this space there, because it's very important for Jordi. Yingfeng nicely through the houses at 5 and 6. Yingfeng and the horse that he brings forward here, Flandia 2, very experienced Flandia 2. There's his partner at the Olympic qualification result last year in Mill Street, where he competed for China there, finished 8th individually. Now he does have his qualification totally sewn up. China have 2 individual spaces allocated to them. And we've got 3 of their most noted riders here in Strzegom this weekend. Yingfeng, of course, who we are watching now. A little bit later on, we will see his teammate in Hua Dong-san. And of course in the 4-star long format, Alex Matian and Poseidon's Admiral, who are bidding for Olympic qualification here this weekend as well. So Yingfeng, another to take the slightly longer route. It makes the turn to the corner a little bit more pronounced. He pops through it very nicely. As next away from the start, it is Jessica George. Jessica and a wrap up 42.8. Big weekends for Jessica here in Strzegom. Her first visit, I think, to the venue, being based over in Europe, having come over from South Africa as part of her preparation for the Olympic Games, hoping to be selected there. Nicely over the brush boats for Flandier 2. Just mentioned Alex Vatiana moments ago, and Poseidon's Admiral in the 4-star long for China. They're actually leading overnight. The show jumping will of course be taking place tomorrow. Jessica George and wrap up clear of the brush and ditch. It's back to Yingfeng. Them onto water. The step. Gets the 3 strides to that angled brush very well and is safely on his way. So, Jordy Wilkin, Kirakeo, has been awarded 15 penalties for a missed flag at 11B. So that is pretty influential for him and pretty influential for the Dutch team as well, because it means that he won't be qualified for the Olympic Games. He goes forward to tomorrow's jumping on 62.0. As we go back to Jessica George. Wrap up, who looks to be thoroughly enjoying the cross-country round so far. Really nicely done through that. And this horse actually has been campaigned over in South Africa. We'll come back to Jessica in a second. Let's stick with Yingfeng for a moment, because Flandier 2 just coming towards the skinny brush out of the mound there. We'll turn, that's the Lotto Rail and skinny brush at 19A and B, pops back to the Trakehner at 20, but showing up on the live scores, they did break a device at a fence out on course, fence 14. That is the white rails. It's a big white parallel. We didn't see it. That will be 11 jumping penalties for them to add. So wrap up, I was just saying, has actually been campaigned over in South Africa. They secured South Africa's Olympic ticket as an individual Olympic ticket to the Games. What happens is highest placed individual on FEI points in each of the groups can secure a ticket for their nation if their nation has not already qualified a team. Jessica's position, I think she had something like 57 FEI points, some 50 or so clear of her nearest challenger. And so she'd dearly love to be the one. Oh, goodness me, just ducks out to the right-hand side. Didn't get her line right. I was going to say she'd dearly love to be the one that is flying the flag in Paris in a few weeks' time. And I think she's just popped her hand up and decided to call it a day. Such a shame for her there. The line just wasn't quite there for her. And was just ducked out to the right-hand side. So unfortunately, their day ends early. Now to Pakistan. And Usman Khan, one of 14 different nations represented across this Nations Cup class. Usman rides Eden de Valle. Comes forward on a score of 34.0, so in 12th place overnight. And Yingfeng Bao comes to the final fence with Flandier 2, just the last to go. It's been a good round of jumping, just the 11 penalties to add. There'll be a few time penalties as well. 36.2 their total to add, so that will see them go forward to tomorrow's jumping on 72.4. Back to Usman Khan and Eden du Valle. It's a horse that was originally produced by Mathieu Lemoine. Really well ridden through the Lotto combination at 9 A, B and C, taking the right-handed option, and he's pretty quick away from there. The team in Strzegom, Marcin Konowski and everybody related to this event have done a great job in preparing the ground as best as they possibly can. Quick check back over his shoulders, just felt a little rattle, but he's okay. The pin stayed. And unfortunately was taking the option and unfortunately picked up 20 penalties. So Usman Khan also incurring penalties on the cross country. What started off as a good number of green dots and lots of clear rounds has all of a sudden unfolded into quite an influential cross country round. So now it is Victoria Knapp and Quintus combination who were instrumental in helping the Polish team to Olympic qualification in Baborysco last year in the Olympic Group C qualifier. Quintus is looking pretty hot. It's a warm enough day in Poland. I think Usman Khan and Eden de Vere have also retired down at the Lotto Water, which means the only horse out on course is Victoria Knapp. And pops him through those houses very nicely. So Victoria comes to the rail corner combination, going the left-handed route and pops through there very nicely. Again, you see the person with the red tabard taking the video shot to make sure that safely jumping between the flags. That can be referred to by the ground jury at any given time as required as well. So Victoria, 6 minutes and 38 seconds, the optimum time. Nobody's achieved it yet. Pauline Knorr went pretty close, just 4 seconds over, but Victoria is absolutely flying out on course. Quintus definitely pretty experienced at this level. And sees a long stride, but actually keeps the contact even though she slipped her reins and the horse really true to the line. He's 14 years of age now, Quintus. He was 5th individually in Baborysco last year when they helped the Polish team to qualification. But been previously on the podium here in Strzegom in a 4-star as well. Were 3rd back in the beginning of last year. So it's a venue they know very well. Actually just fits the 3 strides in between those. You can see the horse just lost a little bit of power in the water. Victoria had to work quite hard there. But actually the 3 strides came up well for her. So, next away it is Alexandra Munn, the Spice Merchant. Combination also bidding to represent South Africa at the Olympic Games. Well, unfortunately Jessica George's Olympic dream is over. Hasn't been able to secure a 4-star short confirmation result this year, having retired. And I would wonder if that knowledge has kind of leaked its way back to the collecting ring, if Alexandra knows exactly what is at stake for her here, because obviously would have a very good chance of being able to head to the Olympics if she can produce a good performance here. Does have her 4-star confirmation result, picked that up at Burnham Market. So it's a case of form. There's also Alexander Petinel in the 4-star long format, who would also very much be in contention for South Africa as well. Actually, Alexander Petinel did his 4-star long cross country a little bit earlier on. He did produce a clear round. Plenty of time faults, but I think well within the amount required. Yeah, he was inside. You have to be, to class a qualification as a minimum eligibility result, it has to be within certain parameters, so a 45 or less dressage, no more than 16 penalties, 16 jumping penalties in the show jumping, no more than 11 jumping penalties cross country. Oof, athletic, cat-like ability from the Spice Merchant there. Just watch Alexandra through here. And the horse did well to get her out of a spot of bother there. So just going back to that MER, the parameters are roughly that it's a 45 or less dressage. You have to have 16 or less jumping penalties in the show jumping. No more than 11 jumping penalties cross country. So you can have a frangible device and it's still classed as an MER, but not a missed flag or any refusals. And no more than 75 seconds over the time in the terms of the time cross country. So Figaro de Premis has picked up that qualification so far, subject of course to the jumping tomorrow. But it's wonderful to see so many of these riders coming here to Strzegom and using this Nations Cup leg as a real benchmark of their season. Really nicely through. If you jump in the direct route there, it's a much more obvious line. Victoria Knapp at the Go for Gold horses. Pops through there very nicely. So yet to see any of our riders from the team competition feature as yet. The first of those team riders will be coming forward in a couple of horses' time, some 4 or 5 horses' time. As Victoria Knapp very nearly home. She goes to the DCU white parallel and hurdles. And she is safely home. Alexandra Munn and the Spice Merchant away from the Monte Water. So away goes our latest starter. This is Luciano Claudio Brunello, Cash de Cedre. Combination for Argentina. .39.6 their first phase score. So he comes in just a moment to this Lotto Rail corner combination at 9, A, B and C. Will he go left or will he go right? He's going to go right. And did a really good job there actually of getting the horse back to him between those final 2 elements. As Cash de Cedre. Also, another one here bidding for an Olympic qualification ticket. Was top 20 at the Pan American Games last year. And a horse that has had a huge amount of success over in Argentina. Oh, sit up. Oh, goodness me. He did a very good job there because I thought for a second the horse was just going to stumble and he was going to, unfortunately, have an early dunking. But he did a very good job to keep his balance. And his Olympic dream does live on. So now we go to China. Hua Sung and Lady Chin van der Merven Z, 29.9, their first phase score in 4th after dressage. As we go back to Luciano. Oh, athletic ability just pops in the 3 strides. I thought for a second they might be just about to duck out the right-hand side. There's a really, really acute angle on those brushes in the water, but he did a very good job. Victoria Knapp and Quintus are home safely. And they are the ones to beat, 39.9. They just had 6 time penalties, go ahead of Pauline Nor Evelay MAF on 40.5. But we go back to Luciano. And pops very nicely through that second water. So now it is the turn of our latest starter, Hua Sung, for us to watch Lady Chin van der Merven Z coming to the corner combination at 9 in just a second. It's a horse that was so impressive in the dressage yesterday. Did a beautiful test for 29.9. So much experience, this combination. And they showed all of that through that complex at 9. Absolutely no problems at all. This combination actually finished at the Asian Games last year in 4th place individually, but have since come out this season. We're top 10 in Protoni in a 4-star class there, as they have their confirmation results. And as we said a little bit earlier on China, just the 2 individual slots, heartbreak, not being able to send that team to Paris. Really good job through both elements there. As here is our latest starter. And this is Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line, 6th after dressage, 32.1 their starting score. Now Leah, I would normally be saying, is one of those riders to watch for speed, because she is very quick in the cross country. We'll come back to her in a second. That's really well done through the angled brush boats for Hua Sung. Leah Siegel, as I was saying, normally I would say she's absolutely one to watch for time, because this is a very fast horse and she's a very fast jockey. However, she does need an MER result here to secure Olympic qualification. She had an injury in the spring, so her original plans have been very interrupted. Paris felt a very long way off, and now it's about getting back to full fitness, but also ticking the box to be able to go to the games in a few weeks' time. So much at stake for so many combinations here, including a few that we'll see a little bit later on in the team classification. Our Argentinian rider, Luciano Cash de Cedra, just has the last to go, pops that final fence and is home safely. So that looks like it will be a qualifying result for him. So Luciano Claudio Brunello, hoping to be able to make himself eligible for one of the 2 spots that Argentina have for the Paris Games individually. TSP Fighting Line, one of the most experienced horses in the field. A horse that has an extraordinary amount of experience. Leah actually won this class 12 months ago with Van Helsing P. Now, that's interesting. The flag did go. I think that's okay, but I don't get the benefit of watching it on repeat. like the ground jury would, and thankfully decisions like that are not left to us. But we'll keep an eye on the live scores, because that would certainly be an influential moment for Leah Siegel. This horse went brilliantly at the Tokyo Olympic Games, but also well in Protoni as well. She's really been an inspiration to young Austrian riders. Strzegom and Calero, 29.2, their first phase score, and third after dressage. Also bidding for an MER, so need that good cross-country performance to make the horse eligible as an alternate for him for the Olympic Games, named with Dea de Lucien for the Swiss team. Leah Siegel is being shown as clear through fence 9, so that's great news for her. We'll keep an eye on it, but looks to be all okay. Felix Vogue, who actually won the Le Moulin 5-star in 2022 with this horse. Leah, really well done through there. You can just see how experienced this horse is. So confident. As Huadong Sun and Lady Chin van Mervenzy just have the last to go. They're through the DCU hurdles, not taking any chances to the final fence, which comes up pretty quickly, and he is home safely. So Felix Vogue passes Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line as he comes to this lotto combination. 29.2, remember his starting score, so well in contention for a podium place here. Choosing to go the right-handed route. And pops through there very nicely. Again took the flag, but looks to be absolutely fine. Just had a slight slip on the corner. And Felix did a really good job just to keep eyes on those red and white flags. The horse knew exactly where he needed to go. Felix, who was actually part of the Swiss team in the Nations Cup in Avanches a couple of weeks ago. Of course, that was all live for you on FEI.tv. Felix, another to choose to take the slightly longer route. It's a more pronounced turn to the corner, but it's a smaller drop in. And actually, Calero popped through there very well. So now we get into the Nations Cup riders. This is the Pathfinder for Poland. We've already seen him on one occasion. Now he comes forward with his long-time championship campaigner, Jard. Jan Kaminski, the Polish team, actually hot on the heels of Australia. They're in the team silver medal position after dressage. 36.2, Jan's score, actually the drop score, but he's still put in a very, very solid first phase, and so a fast clear here would be very valuable to the Polish team. 102.5 their score coming forwards, and unfortunately he just chipped in and a tumble for Jan Kaminski and Jard very early on in their round as we go back to Felix Vogue and Calero. So Felix will go on to the latter part of his round, but unfortunately Jan Kaminski's day has ended a little bit earlier than anticipated. Good to see the horse up on his feet. He'll be checked out. We've got a great team of vets and medics on site, and will be given any attention required, I have absolutely no doubt. Felix Vogue, Calero. Just coming down that bank to this rail, and Skinny pops through there very well. You can just see how experienced this horse is. Makes absolutely nothing of the Trakehner that follows as well. The twists and the turns of the Strzegom cross-country course. Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line, job done for her. Home, 6.8 time penalties. And that is the score to beat, 38.9. One can't help but feel she could have gone a lot faster if she had have wished, but it was very much about ticking a qualification box here, making sure that they feel good going into a potential Olympic Games appearance in a few weeks' time. So 38.9 is the leader in the clubhouse, Leah Siegel, and DSP Fighting Line, Leah, who won here 12 months ago with Van Helsing P. So we turn attentions in a second back to Felix Vogue and Calero, who have the course to themselves. Have just been winding through the trees as they come to the Go for Gold horses. Really well done through that. Felix, quick check of his watch. He's an unbelievably experienced jockey. Has been at the very top level of the sport for many, many years now, actually. Been to a good number of championships, including, of course, those Olympic Games, not only in Tokyo, but in Rio as well. Been to 2 World Equestrian Games in Tryon on Cart in 2014, but also Bretoni World Championships. And he has done 5 Senior European Championships as well. Pops through the final combination and over the final fence and is home safely. So Felix Vogue Calero has completed and away from the start, Heike Janka and Mighty Spring FRH, 39.1 their starting score. So a couple of question marks appearing on the scorecard of Felix Vogue and Calero. I would imagine that is in terms of a missed flag. He's home with 5.2 time penalties. He is going to be the one to beat in the clubhouse with a time like that. 34.4 is going to be his score. And providing, of course, that those question marks do not account to anything. We certainly didn't see anything that looked to pose question. So we'll wait for confirmation as the first of the German team riders, Heike Janka, is away on course. The drop score for Germany at the moment, 39.1. But a good fast clear would certainly see her as a very, very valuable addition to the German team score. Rudolf Scharrer, the chef to keep for the German team here this weekend. Germany in the team bronze medal position after dressage, 104.4 their total score. So, into the rotation of team riders. 5 different teams represented in this Nations Cup class. Took the flag, but again, looked okay to me. We just see from our camera angle, though, Heike certainly would have set out like she means business. 6 minutes 38 seconds, that optimum time, remember. Wonderful to see so many people enjoying all of the cross-country action in Strzegom this weekend. Such an important venue for Poland. Hosts a number of top-class competitions throughout the year. Marcin Konowski and his team do a brilliant job because they have so many different levels and they can cater for your lower international levels, the 1-star intro level, all the way up to the 4-star level. They've hosted numerous championships here. The last senior championships were held back in 2017. But actually, they'll be hosting the Junior Young Rider European Championships later this summer as well. So, away from the start, it is the next of our riders to head out on course. For France, Marie Bouchonville, Captain Charles. Just got in quite close to that fence there, but the horse very, very clever. Big jump at that ditch and brush as we go back to hiker. Lovely job clear of both elements there. Marie Bouchonville, the first of the French team riders. France on a team score of 114.3. This is one of their counting scores, 38.1. France only contesting one leg in the series so far, but they won Montelibretti, so they have 100 points on the leaderboard. Italy and Switzerland currently lead the standings on 180 points apiece, but of course neither fielding teams here this weekend, so rather opening the door for the likes of Australia and France. Very well done through the left-handed route, Marie Bouchonville. It'll be interesting to see if that becomes team French orders, or French team orders, I should say, when we see some of her teammates go a little bit later on. The preferred option, generally speaking, has been the right route today. Marie setting up for the direct route at the Lotto Water. Lovely job holding her line there. As away from the start goes the next of our Polish combinations. Paweł Woskowski, Lucinda X Annie, the best placed of the Polish riders in the team. And of course they do need to count his score. 30.9 in individual 5th overnight as well, after Jan Kaminski fell from Jard a little bit earlier on. Quickly to that ditch and brush, pops over it very well. So, if you're just tuning in, then a very warm welcome to you. The score to beat at the moment is 34.4, set by Felix Vogue and Calero. Still yet to see our overnight leader, Yulia Krajewski, and great twist at dive Z. But that is the score out in front. We've just started our rotation of team riders, so we're on rotation 1 of the team riders in the Nations Cup competition. 3 strides fitted in between the brush boats there for Marie Bouchonville. As Paweł Woskowski is at the corner combination, taking the right-handed route. Pops through there very well. Time in for Heike Janka, and 6.4 time penalties. That is a very, very good score for the German team. So Mighty Spring FRH 45.5 is her total score. She was the drop score originally, so that doesn't affect the team total at the moment, but it's a good backup for them certainly. Pavel Włoszkowski, Lucinda X Annie. Coming to the Losso water. Again, another to take the direct route in there. Lucinda X Annie, top 20 in Wiesbaden a little bit earlier on this year. Picked up a good clear cross country here in Strzegom in April in the 4-star. As we saw the first of our Swedish team riders just heading out of the start box, we'll come back to them in a second. It really rewards positive riding, those two boats with brush on in the water. As here is the first of our Swedish riders, Stina Arasenius and Lorelei L. Sweden just fielding the 3 riders in a team. So all 3 of their riders count. 37.2 their starting score in 21st place individually. Back to Lucinda X Annie. This horse really helped Poland last year secure that Olympic qualification in Babarutko, finished 4th individually there with an excellent double clear round, and I'm sure will be very much in the forefront of the selectors' minds heading into the Paris Games. Really well done for our first Swedish combination through 5 and 6. Fred Bergendorf, the chef to keep for the Swedish team here this weekend. He's worked with the Swedish team for a number of years now. He's done a brilliant job with them, and actually they qualified as a team in Protoni in the World Championships in 2022, which really took the pressure off them last year. They weren't chasing Olympic qualification. Pavel Włoszkowski and Lucinda X Annie make that tight turn back towards the Trakehner, and that tight turn back towards home. You saw a stride there, made it happen. Stino Arasenius for Sweden. Sweden on a team score of 108.6, but again, remember, just the 3 scores to count. Lorelei L, 15 years of age, by Lancando, owned by Neasgard. Oh, used the brush to their best advantage coming out of the brush corner, but clear. This combination were top 10 in Sopot in the 4-star long last year. Finished 7th there. And actually jumped clear cross country here with just a handful of time penalties last April as well. This April just gone. Would normally be a pretty quick combination cross country, and they're certainly showing that at the early part of their round today. Just rattled the MIM device on the white parallel, but it stayed. Let's get an update on the latest of our finishers. Marie Bouchonville, 9.2 time penalties for the first of our French team riders. So that gives her a total score of 47.3. Pavel very nearly home, takes the flag at both of those, but just the final fence, and pops the last 2 complete. So Pavel Włoszkowski is home safely. Our latest starter is Mariona Ziebel. Chiquita, 38.1, second of our German team riders. And they are a counting score for Germany, 38.1. They were in 23rd place coming into the cross country. The clubhouse leader, remember, Felix Vogt Calero, 34.4, just some 5 combinations that can go ahead of him now. Pavel Wyszkowski, Lucinda Eksani, 15.2 times, so 46.1 their total score. That is going to be quite costly for the Polish team. They're going to drop down the order here slightly. Still 2 more of their riders to go. It's Mayona Ziebel and Chiquita absolutely flying to the first of those Lotto waters in just a second. So 2 combinations out on course. Stina Arasenius for Sweden, a little bit further on, but we're with Mayona Ziebel and Chiquita. Beautifully done through that water. This looks to be a really good round so far. Mayona Ziebel and Chiquita, a horse that actually just a 12-year-old mare. Top 20 in Marbach, clear cross country there in that super competitive 4-star. 5th in Strzegom here, actually 12 months ago in the 4-star long format. Horse that is owned by Andreas Bowman, Andreas Dubowski, Susanna Nazimi Hossini, Franziska Sleiterman van Langenweide, Cornelia von Blow and Ulrika von Borstel-Zeibel. As away from the start, the first of our Australian riders, Australia leading the way after the dressage phase. Grace Kay, Bluefields for Cello, 32.8 her starting score, and a horse that actually is in 9th place after dressage. Chiquita just looking a little bit keen, almost ran herself into problems coming out of that water, but used all of her athleticism. Grace Kay, Bluefields for Cello. Grace, who is based over in Europe now, but spent a long time, of course, in her native Australia. Australia leading on a score of 94.0 after the first phase. But only the 3 riders in the team, so no drop score. Every rider must count. A brilliant round from Stina Arasenius and Lorelei L. Sees them just add 2.4 time penalties, so fantastic for the young Swedish combination. 39.6 is their score at the moment. And that is going to be brilliant for the Swedish team score as well. They've still got 2 riders to go. Nicholas Limbach and Clara Lydon Kirley. Grace Kay. Bluefields for Cello. Combination that sometimes find the show jumping phase the most tricky. They don't need to worry about that until tomorrow. But great to see an Australian team here in Strzegom. 2 of their leading riders as well yet to come. Andrew Hoy, Vasily Delassos, Kevin McNabb, Scuderia 1918, Don Kadam will be out on course shortly. Well into the thick of this cross-country round now. Marcin Konowski, the cross-country course designer, has set a really good test here. Caused a few problems, but has also been pretty achievable. Just waiting for news on Felix Vogt Calero. Breaking news, they had gone into the lead. This is a huge moment for Switzerland because they missed offence. That has just been confirmed. They are eliminated from the competition, and it means that Calero is not going to be able to go to the Olympic Games, as he was only listed as an alternative horse subject to his qualifying run here in Strzegom. That is now no longer possible. So Felix Vogt, Calero, unfortunately, drama here in Strzegom. A missed fence. It was fence 24, which was the white rails, I think, in the woods, or the log in the woods, beg your pardon, just before the final combination. Well, we don't see it on camera, but I'll try and point it out to you. It's just before this parallel that Mariona is coming to now. So that is a huge moment for Switzerland. So back to Grace Kay, Bluefields for cello at the water. Really lovely job through all elements there. Does have a question mark on a flag penalty at 9A, so we'll keep an eye on that. As we go to our latest starter, Sebastian Ants for France. And that is indeed French team orders taking the left-handed route there. Sebastian rides Casanova. De Flatte, 39.2 accounting score for the French team. France in 5th after dressage, but it's all change here. We'll start to get a real picture on the team scores shortly. Just again, another to look back over his shoulder and check those pins haven't been activated. They can make a real clang and a jangle if you knock the fence. Mayona Ziebel Chiquita is home safely. 16.8 time penalties, so quite a few time penalties to add for the German team. She was a counting score. They do have 54.9 is her total score now to add. They do have that very good fast round of Heike Janke, Mighty Spring to consider. So that will now be a counting score for Heike. Sebastian through that Lotto Water at 12. So just a reminder, the clubhouse leader is actually Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line now, as the score to beat 38.9. Next to go, it is the turn of our next combination from Poland. Robert Pawala, Tosca del Castagno. We've already seen Robert on one horse today. Comes forward now with this 11-year-old mare. 35.7 his starting score, a horse that he owns himself. So we'll give you an update on the team scores in a few minutes' time once we're through this next rotation of riders. A little bit tricky because both Australia and Sweden, leading contenders here, have 3 riders, so only one of their riders has gone. Ooh, just a slight uncomfortable stride coming to fence 7 there, but clear. So Grace Kay and Bluefields for cello home, 12 time penalties for Grace, and that will see her go into 5th place at 44.8 on the leaderboard. And actually, as we go back to Sebastian at, no problems for them at the water. Really lovely jump for Robert Pawala. Tosca del Castagno, team rider number 3 for Poland. Don't forget that Jan Kaminski and Jard unfortunately not completing, so this is a counting score. They are going to have to count the next 2 riders. Pavel Voshkovsky, 46.1, their first rider home. So when we get on to the final rotation of team riders, we'll be able to give you a bit more of an indication as where things are. But at the moment, it is Robert Pavala, Tosca del Castagno that we see coming to the Lotto Water. Choosing the slightly longer alternative means a more pronounced left-handed line to this brush corner. Both have jumped well today, actually, and both have actually caused in fact, the one that's caused probably the most problems is the slightly longer, easier in inverted commas alternative, but actually no problems there. So now we welcome the second of our Swedish riders, Clara Lydon Kirili and Sotomayor. The Swedish team have got a brilliant fast clear round on the board from their first rider, Stina Arasenius and Lorelei L. So all to play for Sweden here. So Sotomayor clear of the first of those ditch and brushes. Clara Lydon Kirili brings forward this 11-year-old Swedish warm blood. Not overly experienced at the 4-star level, but actually completed here with a clear cross country back in September last year. And have since completed Sopot in the 4-star as well. Did win the 3-star in Strömsholm in Sweden, finished on their dressage score of 32.1 on their last outing earlier on this month, so that would have been a great confidence boost for them. Just getting news that the last French rider, Sebastian Casanova, is home safely but has had a broken device, so 11 penalties to add to his score. Let's confirm that score for you, 18.2 in total. So Casanova de Flete, 57.4 for France. So heading into the final 8 or so horses here in Strzegom in the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here in Poland. What a brilliant day of competition we have enjoyed so far. All of the thrills and the spills of cross-country riding. And it is going to go down to the wire. It is going to be all change on the team leaderboard, I am sure. We're still yet to see our overnight leader, Yulia Krajewski, as well. Very well done through the first water for team rider number 2 for Sweden, Clara Lydon Kirili. Sotomayor is an 11-year-old owned by Inja Solna on that score of 38.0 coming forwards. Go for gold horses at 22, Robert Pavala, Tosca del Castagno. Check of the watch. So it's after this fence, you jump a log in the woods, and then you jump the white parallel, which is the fence that Felix Vogt omitted. Pierre Leuber and Cascada, our latest starters for Germany. They come forward on a score of 38.4. It's an 11-year-old by Cascadello, owned by Gestut Fohlenhoff. Just the last to go. He takes the right-handed option there, takes it very well. Just taking a pull to the last. Didn't have a stride he was happy with. Better safe than sorry. and is home safely. So that is a very good score for the Polish team. They've got 2 riders home. We'll come to his time in just a second. It's going to be 16 time penalties. Really good job through that water for Clara Leiden-Kirili. Clara just 27 years of age, as Pia Loiba. And this horse is such a little pocket rocket. What a fun little horse, because actually just jinked to the right slightly there, but saw the flags and went, yep, I can jump between those, no problem at all. Cascada. Pia, who's had some incredible results coming up the levels with a number of horses, but particularly many of you will remember Louis M, horse that she rode at the Young Riders. And actually took a Young Rider individual gold medal as well. She's a very, very talented jockey. And this looks like a horse that's going to give her a huge amount of fun. Cat-like ability. She was feisty in the dressage yesterday. But my goodness. Looks like a lot of fun to be sat on to go cross-country. So, Tosca del Castagno, Robert Pavala on a score with 16 penalties to add of 51.7. As away goes the individual bronze medalists from the Tokyo Olympic Games, Andrew Hoy and Vasily Delassos, one of the most recognised horses in the world. This is a big moment. Needs to pick up a clear round cross country here to secure Olympic qualification for Australia. Andrew, of course, bidding to go to a 9th Olympic Games. Cascada having a great time through the second of those Lotto waters. As nearly home. Oh, just slipping on the turn. Well done, Clara. She did a great job. Just had a slight moment there. But actually, Clara Leiden-Kirili jumps the last and is home safely for Sweden. That is a big round from them. So Sweden should have 2 clear jumping rounds on the board. And we'll confirm details of her time in just a moment. Andrew Hoy, Vasily Delassos, rerouted here after an early mistake in Avanche. 11.6 time penalties for Clara, so that goes onto the Swedish team. Gives them a score of 49.6. Vasily Delassos actually won their 4-star long a few weeks ago. Hard to believe that it was the horse's first international win. Quick check of the watch from Andrew Hoy. This is an unbelievably fast horse. He's a very good jumper on the final day as well, as he well showed in Tokyo. And I did actually think that Andrew might go out slightly with the brake on, just to focus on getting that clear round on the board, but actually the natural cruising speed of this horse is very high and he is not hanging around. Vasily Delassos, part of the Australian team owned by the Dreams Come True LLC alongside Andrew. Have a little trot step in the water and a very neat and easy out over the corner. So, let's put things in perspective for you. Pia Loiba, Cascada out on course for the German team, as is Andrew Hoy, Vasily Delassos for Australia. That's who we're with at the second of these Lotto waters. made that look very straightforward. This horse, unfortunately, a bit of time on the sidelines. Back end of last season meant that he didn't get his qualifications in the bag in 2023. Looking to get the job done now. Nico Barandadete for France next to go. As very nearly home. Pia Loiba and Cascada. Just the last to go. What a fun little horse this is. And Pia, a very good round for the German team. She is safely home through the finish. We'll confirm details of her time in just a second. As Nico, the next of our French riders. French rider number 3. After we've had our third rider for each team, we'll take stock of the team competition. Of course, Sweden and Australia both have only 3 riders in their team. 5.6 time penalties for Pia Loiba. And they go 5th at the moment, 44.0. Andrew Hoy, Silly de Lassos. Light work at the water in an individual 3rd place at the moment, 32.1. He was 6th after dressage, but would move up with a fast clear here. As here we are with Nico coming to the corner combination. Now the French team orders so far have been take the left-handed route. What will she do? She's going right. And does it very quickly and economically, in fact. Wouldn't have wasted much time there at all. We're just getting news in that Pia Loiba actually also had a broken device at 24, as has Andrew Hoy. My goodness me, that is something you don't see very often. Vasily de Lassos has had a pin out on course. Now, 11 penalties does still count as a minimum eligibility result. So, watch this space. He's got to get home clear from here for Australia. But of course, the individual bronze medalist from Tokyo still bidding for Olympic qualification for Paris. Bold French riding through the first of those Lotto waters. Andrew Hoy at the go for gold horses. Vasily de Lassos pops through there very nicely. So, all drama here. That is going to affect the Australian team score as well. It is Germany and France who are making the biggest ground at the moment. And of course, Sweden. This is proving to be an unbelievably exciting cross-country phase here in Strzegom as away from the start. Our latest starter to join us, Margarita Karicka, Can Valencia for Poland. Team rider number 4 for Poland. Andrew Hoy, Vasily de Lassos. Let's see them home. Jumps the big white parallel. Clever footwork through there. Andrew not taking any chances now. And he's got the final fence, so he should be good on that clear round, or I say clear round, 11 penalties or under for an MER cross country, but it is going to affect the Australian team. A big moment in the landscape of the summer, it would be said. Andrew, of course, showing all of his incredible fitness, because he would be, as I'm sure he won't mind me saying, one of the older riders on the circuit. But my goodness me, he works so hard to make sure that he is in the best shape possible, and his core strength then to make sure he didn't have a tumble was absolutely extraordinary. So, Andrew Hoy home, 15 penalties to add, so that is 11 jumping and 4 time. That is going to drop him down the order individually, gives him a score of 47.1. So 47.1 for Andrew Hoy. It's going to affect the Australian team score as well. As just working hard to the combination at 9. Margarita Karicka and Valencia. All the trust in the world for that horse coming around to that final corner. So, not hanging around Margarita Krycka for Poland. They are counting both of their previous completions because first rider Jan Kaminski did not manage to complete. So they're on 103.2. 139.1 if Margarita would go clear and inside the time. Verenico and Baron de Tay is also out on course. They're a little bit further on. We'll come to them in a second. So, just looks like Varane is possibly being held out on course. Now, we'll get an update on that because she would be at about fence 18, and it looks like it is because this fence, actually, the fence that the broken device was activated on by Andrew Hoy, is just being rebuilt. So, Varane Nico is being held out on course at fence 19. It'll be very interesting to see whether they actually let Margarita run through. That is sometimes what they do. They like to interrupt as few rounds as possible, so don't be surprised if Varane just moves to one side and we see Margarita Krycka come on through past Varane, whose time will have already been taken. Nicholas Limbach, Focus Filiokas, is also out on course. My goodness me, it is all drama at the end of the cross-country phase here in Strzegom. The individual standings are still wide open. Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line, is the one to beat, 38.9, but we've still got some 5 combinations that could go ahead of her, including, of course, our overnight leaders in Yulia Krajewski and Great Twist Dive Z. So, nicely done there for Nicholas Limbach. Germany, the only team with 4 in the squad that has had everybody home so far. Of course, France could still do that. Verenico out on course. But Germany, actually the ones to beat at the moment. If they count Yulia Krajewski's score, she's obviously still to come. The best score they can finish on is 117.4. Nicholas Limbach goes the left-handed route very well. Focus Filiokas, his championship campaigner, very experienced, this horse, and Nicholas, of course, very experienced himself. He's been to a number of top-level championships for Sweden. So, looks like this is Margarita Krycka, Can Valencia, the Go for Gold horses. And Margarita also activated the safety device at 19A, which is where Verenico had been held. So, of course, they couldn't restart her quickly, so she is still being held there while the fence was being reset. It'd be interesting to see whether they restart her now or whether they wait until after Nicholas Limbach has been through that fence. The fence building teams, that's the log in the wood that we don't really see a huge amount of, but you just get the gist of the light and the dark there, the dappling from the trees. So Margarita Krycka and Can Valencia just carrying those 11 jumping penalties. And actually just have the final fence to go. So that is going to be an important score for the Polish team. We'll be able to give you a total team score for Poland now because all of their riders have completed. Nicholas Limbach, Focus Filiokus at the Lotto Water. Good job through there, made it happen to get the 2 strides. So, Margarita Konitska, Can Valencia on a score of 60.5, which takes Poland to 117.6. Now it is the turn of the overnight leader, Yulia Krajewski, great twist dive Z. Yulia, the reigning Olympic champion, brings forward this 9-year-old in his first run at the level. She's had him since a 4-year-old. She said that he has just kept growing though. He's taken a lot of time to develop and mature. She's given him that time. So, total team score for Poland is actually 163.7. That is in the bank. Yulia Krajewski could lead the German team to a score of 117.4 at best. Nicholas Limbach out on course for Sweden. We'll come to him in a moment. Yulia named as one of the alternate combinations. Oh, now she has been held out on course, and that was a really last minute time for Yulia to be pulled up. You could just see the fence judge with the red flag. Yulia caught sight of her at the last minute, and I thought for a second that the horse had sort of slipped or something, and you can see Yulia just taking a moment to actually show the horse the fence, essentially, of kind of where she was pulled up, because it was almost like she pulled her out of the fence. That is because a little bit further on, fence 19 looks like it is still receiving attention. So, Nicholas Limbach, Focus Filiokus, Yulia Krajewski, Great Twist Z, and Varane Nico, Baron de la Tay for the French team are all held out on course. So this is the perfect time for us to take stock of exactly what is happening in terms of the leaderboard. In the individual standings, Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line are the best of the scores in the clubhouse, 38.9. There are still 4 combinations that could go ahead of Leah. 2 of them are actually out on course. Overnight leaders after dressage, of course, Yulia Krajewski, Great Twist Dive Z. We saw Yulia on the grey horse there, 27.9 is her starting score. Here is Nicholas Limbach, Focus Filiokus, down at fence 19, which is just receiving some attention. And essentially, when you're held on course, there is Varane Nico. They're having a little meeting down there at fence 19. They'll be able to chat to the builders and find out what's going on. The fence judges will let them know how long it will likely be until they can be restarted. But essentially, when you are held on course, you are out of the competition, so you are free to dismount. You can have a drink of water. You can offer your horse a drink of water, obviously depending on how long the hold is going to be. But essentially, you are out of the competition while you are held. The fence judges will have taken a time at a point before your fence. That is your hold time, your stop time. And then when you are able to be restarted, you are sent back past that timing marker at full competition speed. So an appropriate time of how long you have been held for out on course can be calculated. Yulia Krajewski just chatting with the German team. I think that's the chef to keep Rudolf Scherer, who's just made it down there to fence 9 to speak with her. He'll be keeping her up to date with exactly what is going on and how long she is likely to be held for out on course. Hopefully we'll be back up and running very quickly. I imagine here they will let Varane Nico be restarted first, because actually she has been held the longest, and you can see she's being sent back up the track at full competition speed to first of all be given a couple of moments to warm back up. Then when she's ready, she will go back past her timing marker and will restart. So we'll see Varane be restarted. They'll give it a couple of minutes. Then Nicholas Limbach will be restarted before Yulia Krajewski can also get back underway. So in terms of the team competition, it is Germany and Sweden who have made the biggest movements actually over the last 20 minutes or so in particular. And Sweden, Nicholas Lindback, of course, still out on course, but they could make a huge rise up the rankings. Their score at the moment is 122.6 if Nicholas was to go clear and inside the time. Just see him warming up in a second. Veroen Nico is going to... so Nicholas Lindback is off to the left of your screens. Veroen Nico is going to come back to reapproach fence 19B or 19A, or say, I should say, approach 19A, because she has yet to jump it. That was because of a broken device by Andrew Hoy, Vasily de Lassos. She was then held to one side, and the next combination to come through also activated the device. Oh, an uncomfortable leap at the fence that precedes 19. And it's always difficult, isn't it, to regain your composure having been held out on course, but ultimately these things do happen. You've got to get back into your rhythm. The cross-country control team will generally hold you at one of the pre-selected stopping fences, so they are, in inverted commas, the nicer fences to be restarted at. It's not always the case, as we will actually see with Yulia Krajewski, will be restarted at one of the influential combinations. And Veroen Nico will be on her way towards the latter stages of her round now. Yulia Krajewski, great dive, great twist dive Z, our leaders after dressage. This wouldn't have helped her round at all. It's a first timer at the level, and certainly one of the more imposing questions on course. But make no mistake, Yulia Krajewski, she is the Olympic champion. She has been an extraordinary talent at the top end of the sport for a good number of years now. She's a 5-star winner. She knows how to deal with situations such as this, and ultimately she will be back on her way very shortly. Veroen Nico, clear of the go for gold horses. And France actually still have Camille Lesny Avalon left to go. .47 is one of their counting scores for the French team. And obviously still got one rider left to go, but the best the French team can finish on is 131.4. Would imagine it might take a couple of minutes for Veroen's time to filter through the system though, so we might just be looking for her clock in a few minutes. Clear of the last, and she is home safely. So Nicholas Lindback, Focus Filiokas is now restarted as well. And he pops through there like it's a schooling exercise, doesn't he? Cool, calm and collected. Absolutely no problem at all. So Yulia Krajewski will be restarted in just a couple of moments' time. There she goes. And interestingly, actually, she must have been given permission to re-jump fence 8 in some way, shape or form, because I'm sure, from memory, she actually jumped fence 8 on the way to fence 9. Because she was pulled up very last minute. Now that could be a directive from the ground jury. Yulia, unbelievably experienced one, can't imagine she would have done that without permission, and she is certainly being shown as clear through that combination as well. So let's get an update on Nicholas Lindback, Focus Filiokas. He's heading towards the Go for Gold horses as Yulia Krajewski. 27.9 her starting score. Great twist dive Z at the Lotto Water. Pops through there very nicely. And that looks like our latest starter, which would be Camille Laney, perhaps. Haven't yet seen Kevin McNabb's Scuderia 1918 Don Quidam. Still showing on the list. but this is the final French rider to head out on course. So Scuderia 1918 Donkadam has not actually started as yet. But Camille Laney, Avalone are clear of the first 6. Oh, Julia Krajewski just pitched forward slightly there on landing. Very quick to get back in balance. And interestingly, she really doesn't look to have the accelerator down here. Just being quite cautious, did just check back over her shoulder to make sure that that pin hadn't been activated. Camille Laney, the final French rider, very quickly over 9A, B and C. Now she looks back over her shoulder. The flag did go. We didn't get the angle that the French judge would have seen there. One would imagine that there might be a question mark appearing over potential 15 penalties to add. So we'll watch this space. Nicholas Limbach, Focus Filiokas, is home safely. Don't have an updated time for him as yet. He definitely didn't go round in 13 minutes and 52 in terms of the time he was actively on course. That whole time just needs to come off. So we'll wait for confirmation. As Julia Krajewski, great twist dive Z, comes to this question 19. That's the one that's caught plenty of people by surprise in terms of activating a safety device throughout this afternoon. Camille Laney at the Lotto Water. Going pretty quickly for the French team. Can't give you an update in terms of the team scores as yet because we're just waiting for a couple of those held times to be calculated, but Camille Laney, Avalone have been marked as clear through fence 9, which was the one where the flag did go. So we'll keep an eye on their live scores as well. Julia Krajewski, great twist dive Z. Looks like they had a problem at the ditch combination, perhaps. Just catching the end of that. We'll confirm it for you in a second. That would be big news for Germany. That is confirmed. Julia Krajewski, great twist dive Z, just picking up 20 penalties at the final element of the ditch. She looks like it's just gone a little bit inexperienced on her, and she's going to do a really good job now, I'm sure, in just bringing him home and making sure that he'll really learn something for the future. So that will mean that Julia actually will be the drop score for the German team. So Germany are going to be on 144.4. That sees them ahead of Poland on 163.7. At the moment, we have no third member for Australia. Kevin McNabb, Scuderia 1918 Donkadam haven't left the start box as yet. Julia, as I say, just doing a very good job in giving the inexperienced horse the confidence coming home. Gets a good shot at the last, and I'm sure their day will come. So Julia Krajewski and great twist dive Z are home safely. Picked up 20 penalties on their round, so that's going to drop them out of contention for the top spot. There'll be some time penalties as well. So that means that at the moment it is DSP Fighting Line and Leah Siegel who lead the way. This lady, Camille Laney, Avalone, could actually go ahead of Leah. She's 4 seconds in hand on the clock. She's been absolutely flying as well, it should be said. Kevin McNabb, Scuderia 1918 Donkadam, still showing as preparing to go, but I would imagine if they haven't left the start box now, they have possibly withdrawn. So we'll keep you updated with news of that as it comes through. But this could well be the last horse coming home. So Camille Laney Avalone. Just the final few questions for her. And then we'll keep an eye on the clock, of course. These accommodations will be going through a horse inspection tomorrow morning before they show jump in the main arena here in Strzegom. And she punches the air with delight. She looks absolutely thrilled with that. So Camille Laney, Avalone. Be interesting to see that time once it's confirmed. She had 4 seconds in hand of Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line on 38.9 as the ones to beat. But let's just remind ourselves of how things are looking in the team standings. We can give you confirmed team scores for Germany, 144.4. And for Poland, 163.7. We're waiting for a final score to come in for France, so we should be able to give you that shortly, although it would be said as well that actually the score of Nico Barandarete will make a difference there, and actually that held time has not yet been confirmed, so could well be that we will be updating you on those team scores tomorrow when we go live. What we can tell you, 144.4 for Germany, 163.7 for Poland. Australia, no Kevin McNabb going cross country, so they don't finish with 3 riders in their team because they only had 3 to start with, so that unfortunately takes them out of the team competition. And Sweden also waiting on that held time for Nicholas Lindback, Focus Filiokas, but we would expect Sweden to be very, very competitive here. It was a brilliant round from Nicholas, and I would be expecting Sweden to go out in front at the top of the leaderboard, it would be said, because they should stay ahead of France, who are their closest challengers. So it is likely to be Sweden, France, Germany, Poland in the team competition, but of course those scores will be confirmed. We can tell you, though, that inside the time, the only one to make the time today, Camille Laney, Avalone, that score has been confirmed for France, 37.0. She will be our overnight leader going forward to tomorrow's jumping, ahead of DSP Fighting Line and Leah Siegel. Stina Arasenius, Lorelei L, rounding out the podium in the individual standings, 39.6 in third. But my goodness me, this afternoon has been everything that we love about cross-country. Thrills, spills, lots of movement on the leaderboard, some brilliant cross-country riding, a great track that has been set by Marcin Konowski. Great going as well, it should be said. Huge shout out to the entire team in Strzegom who've worked so hard. The venue looks absolutely fantastic. Lots of mental maths for me. Do check the official scoreboards because there was... they'll be updated and verified, and of course waiting for those final few held times to come in as well. But we do hope that you've enjoyed all of the cross-country coverage. We will be back tomorrow for the conclusion of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here in Poland, and it will be, I have absolutely no doubt, as thrilling as today has been. First horse jumps provisionally the start time at 2:30 local time. Do check those official times tomorrow after the final horse inspection has taken place in the morning. But thank you for tuning in, and we do look forward to the conclusion of an absolutely brilliant FEI Eventing Nations Cup here in Poland tomorrow.
odbija i patrz jaki kawał leci.
Tylko że to może być na taka, wiesz,
Tylnia, to przecież